Me clicking streaming was actually an error. I was intending to just record and put it on YouTube, but instead I clicked stream, and since it alerted everybody, I'm just gonna do it. All right, now we're actually starting at the top. Okay, Satoru Gojo, Curse Technique Collapse Blue, decreases attack power by 15 with a 20% chance. What this does is turns him into a Robo. So now all of these Satoru Gojos are in fact included in the Spinny Boy Club. The one main difference is that they have Nat 5 stats. They're defense based, so you can't really kill them with Sonya as an example. And in addition to all that, 106 base speed is insane. And it's a bonus and a nerf a little bit that they only decrease instead of absorb. So that's good into certain things like TL, obviously. Okay, next up. So this one's just really good. Like water Gojo, light or wind Gojo, both gonna be insane. Light Gojo has the speed lead. We'll see how that works, but it is better. Okay. Fire Dark Gojo, Curse Technique Red. This is the one that I believe always has element advantage, I think, and then but then defense breaks. Now a 3-turn cooldown, just a nice little buff. So the thing they did with these with the collab mons is they did pretty safe buffs. All right, I think that's why people were like, oh, they're gonna overhaul them. No, what they did is they made them more attractive without 100% breaking them. Because if they had just like splatted a huge bunch of stuff here, like during SWC season, and also you'll notice one of the things they didn't do is they did not buff LD third skills. That's I think a big deal here, is that the third skills have a lot of the power budget for a given unit. And the thing they didn't want to do is make it so, oh, like 3 people or 5 people in SWC have an absolute cracked unit that you can't contest, and it's only came out like, you know, within the last 2 months, and you can't even get it until after SWC finals. Like, you know, once these things go down in 3 or 4 days, and you can't summon these units anymore. So like, you can't even wail to try to get them later, you know? Nobara Kugisaki, okay, or actually I skipped Megumi. Removes beneficial effect with a 30% to 100% chance. Let's see, yeah, okay. Continuous damage for 2 turns with 80% to 100%. All that does is make her more consistent. Like her skill was, it's scaled based on conditions, right? I was actually looking at her whenever I was building my current team, and I remember thinking like, oh, that seems okay, but like, what if it doesn't actually land? Water Indra decreases damage you take, now increases your attack bar. So instead of him becoming more tanky, now he becomes more control-y. So as someone who's never used Parjanya, I don't know if this makes him better or worse. I think it makes him better though, because he's already gonna be built tanky. He's a defense type. It's like you don't need whatever you decrease damage even more, it's like a double down thing, right? Like it just does more of what he was already good at. How good's Fire Megumi now? Probably really good. Okay, Fire Wind Light Indra. Wild Bolt leaves branding with a 40 to 70% chance. I think that just makes it consistent, right? No, it doesn't. Sorry, that actually makes it so it's an 80% chance now. So it makes it consistent with the attack power break, which is like whatever. It's just slightly more consistent. I don't know if this matters at all. This is like a do nothing buff, I think. I mean, it does something, but it's like, okay, you still use it the exact same way. The Fire Megumi, let's go back to Fire Megumi since everyone's super interested in it. This now means he's now like a really good bruiser with a first turn strip. And I believe he already had a 100% chance to stun, right? Yeah, so it's a 100% strip into a 100% stun. And then if they already had a harmful effect, now it decreases their attack bar. And his passive makes him gain a whole bunch of attack bar if they don't try to kill him. So he just becomes like an insane CC bruiser. And he has a 28% speed lead. Like, Fire Megumi is going to be wild. Like, this is like first pick material. Easy. Like, easy first pick material. Do you build Megumi on Swift? I actually don't know. I expect you probably build him on Violent. Because whenever you gain free ATB, like multiplying that with extra like turns is kind of wild. Fire Geralt, if the enemy has an inability effect after the attack, decrease the cooldown of Ignite Fire spell by 1 turn. Yeah, stun rate's 100% skilled up. So the question I have about this is does this trigger per unit? Because this is an AE. If it reduces all his cooldowns by 4 turns, if all 4 of them get stunned, then this is kind of wild, like an insane unit. I don't know, like I would imagine, or does it mean the enemy target, like the one you specifically clicked on? Yeah, it says target, but the thing is that it's an AE, so it hits, technically it's targeting multiple units. Like if it said if an enemy target has an inability decreased by 1 turn, you know, like who knows here, right? Like this could be anything. I think it's probably going to be 1 turn total, but it could be 4. Wind Dark Geralt, obviously very excited to see this. First attack installs a bomb that detonates after 2 turns with a 50 to 70% chance. So what that means is now he is, I believe, a 100% bomber, right? No, he's not. He's an 80% bomber. So he goes to an 80% bomb, 40% stun base. So you need 1 buff to install bombs on the first turn. So what it means for Dark Geralt is that he now, with just will on the first turn, will always land bombs. Yeah, but it just needs will runes to be 100% on the bomb, not the stun. So it's still meh. Like this doesn't make Dark Geralt usable. You know, so you end up with a 60% stun, 100% bomb chance on the first turn, which is fine, I guess. So this is, I was talking in stream about how they either need to reduce the requirements or they need to increase the effect, and apparently they're deciding to ease the requirements a little bit. So this is better, but it's still not great. And obviously this is a huge buff for the Wind one because going from a 60 to 80 is kind of large. So maybe the Wind one becomes usable. It won't. Okay. Like Geralt, damage you take decreases by up to 15% based on your adrenaline score, which is very lame, but for a pseudo bruiser, this isn't bad. 15% is not a ton though, so I still feel like he's gonna get touched again later, but maybe in a bruiser fight, this ends up being kind of big. It's meh, it's not exciting, but at the same time, the thing is though, is he's a unit where he gets more and more bonus, like by just existing every turn. They want him to like live and start gaining advantage from taking turns, right? So just being able to live a little bit longer might be enough to make him useful. It's too early. The thing that people don't take into account a lot of times with these things is that they're not wanting to take a 47% win rate unit and make it a 55% win rate unit. They want to take a 47% win rate unit and make it a 50% win rate unit. Like if you buff these things too much, all that happens is people are like, oh, you won the jackpot, and then it gets absolutely destroyed 2 patches later. Like that's basically what's going to happen to Gianna at some point, most likely. Like I'm hoping they buff something to take the pressure off of how good she is. But right now, like that, imagine the Gianna thing. Like the worst thing about getting a really awesome buff is knowing that you have a clock on it where you're like, I better take advantage of this, or, because it's not going to be like this long term. If they buff slowly and nothing instantly breaks a unit, then they don't have to nerf it because like it never gets into a really dumb state, you know? So I know it's not as exciting to do it that way, but honestly, it's probably better, you know? All right, magic, so light sword swinger. After the attack increases attack bar by 20, now goes to 40. This isn't a unit I've even seen get played really, so I don't have too much of like a real thought about it other than the fact that stacks better is nice because 10 turns is dumb. Like most units don't get to take 10 turns. Getting to take 5 turns, especially since it's stacking speed, so you take the turns faster, is better. Anyway, I think this is kind of fine. And at least one person is excited about it, so Angelato is pretty happy. All right, so Light Yennefer. If the enemy removes harmful effects or an ally's beneficial effects, removes 1 harmful effect from the ally with the highest attack bar. So so Light Yennefer is now an anti-Gianna, technically. I wonder if they cleanse 4 people, if it cleanses 4 harmful effects. So I'm not sure about this light thing. I do know though that the magic order, this magic order enchantress will at least be an anti-Gianna. So your highest attack bar unit will not be able to be Gianna'd, basically. So that's kind of nice. So it's weird, but I don't know if that would be like a meta purpose of doing this, but it is at least kind of cool. Okay, or any cleanser really. You just make it go first. So it's good for anyone who has like tuned cleansers in front of their team, like people who play like a slightly fast Pontos, like that kind of team. This will pair really well with that. All right, Vampire and Vampire Lord Dark. Weaken, attacks 1 time to 2 times. Weakens the enemy attack bar, decreases attack speed by 75% to 50% chance. So that's, combinatorically speaking, that's the exact same, basically. I don't know why they did this, actually. Like, what functional difference is... Oh, wait, does Cadiz do something on his passive that scales with number of hits? So he brands, he heals. Oh, so he absorbs. Okay, so now he absorbs twice on his S2. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, Dark Vampire specific. This is a buff to Dark Vampire specifically. Heart Magician Light, Celia. Decreases attack bar. The enemy target whose beneficial effect has been successfully removed by 10%. So, did she have a 100% chance to... She had a 100% chance to strip, right? This feels like another pseudo do nothing though. So yeah, so she strips and puts them to sleep, and now lowers their ATB by 10%. I'm trying to think in what situation. What's the situation where you would care that the enemy target got reduced by 10% since you already slept them? You assume it's a guaranteed pushback where the sleep is a separate act res check? Yeah, I could see that. That could be true. If this is like a Gianna where this is like a replacement effect or like a bonus triggered effect, and there is no act check, then it means that it makes her more consistent. Okay, Fairy King Dark, the one we've all been waiting for. Finally, Nyx got a buff. Increases the attack bar of all allies by 10% if allies are not granted with harmful effects due to discernment passive. So basically, every time he cancels a buff or debuff, your whole team gets 10% ATB. So, as someone who's managed to make Nyx work with some amount of regularity, I mean, not all the time, obviously, but like when I want him to work, he kind of works. Like, this is not going to make my turn 1 better, but what it's going to mean is that whenever shit goes wrong, the game's going to be better for me, right? Like, if I miss stuff and then they start going. The other thing is that whenever I get stripped, whenever Heigang strips you, so this makes Heigang, just as a thought, so these are my thoughts, sorry. If you're fighting into Heigang, yeah, if you have Nyx and you see a turn 2 team who's definitely doing Rag Gapsu, take that Nyx. Like, not stealing Nyx is going to be so hard. No. What they're saying is that, so as an example, one of the big cases where this is going to come up and people are going to feel robbed by my awesome Nyx is, so now if someone first picks Heigang and they strip into me, they have like a 35% chance for each one of those glancings to increase my team's ATB by 10%. So like if I land 2 of them, I've canceled out an Escher. So an Escher into Heigang, damn Zig. This will actually, if I cancel 2 out of 4, yeah, and it's a force ban into Maxi, which is why I'm going to be first picking him, because I want to play him with Maxi. So there's a chance that even with an Escher boost, that, I mean, technically there's a chance. So my assumption is that this is going to be per unit like Ragdoll. So if you cancel 2 debuffs and they're on 2 units, it'll give you 20% ATB. If you cancel 2 debuffs and it's on 1 unit, it'll give you 10% ATB. If it's where you get 10% for every canceled debuff, we are cooking. We are 100% cooking. Like if it's coded that way, where you can get like a Nepthes gives you 100% ATB, it's gonna be wild. Nyx is by far the winner of the balance patch. I think so too, personally. Well, there's a couple good ones in here. Honestly, this Gojo buff is sick. You wouldn't want that because they'll 100% hotfix it. Not necessarily. There's only so many units in the game that put down like, you know, 50 debuffs, right? It's like Maxi, Nepthes, Isis, Rika, kind of. Beast Monk Dark. Leaves branding effect for 2 turns instead of 1 turn. Okay. I don't know why you do them like that, but that's not enough. Is that like a PvE thing? Beast Monk Wind provokes the enemy with a 50% to 80% chance. Does that go to 100% now, or is that still just 50%? Okay, so it's just 80, but that's still like better. That puts him on par with Cigar and stuff. All right, Desert Queen Fire Charming Voice decreases attack bar by 15%. Cool thing about this is that if you miss the reset, it doesn't go on cooldown, so you can keep using it, right? That's actually, I don't know if that's like good, but so Sekhmet gets a cool attack bar decrease. That's nice. All right, so Mage Wind. This one is another one that I think is going to be potentially overlooked by a lot of people. Decreases max cooldown of Mana Storm by 1 turn if the damage is increased up to 200%. So basically, whenever she hits max stacks, if I'm not mistaken, her cooldown on this skill will be down. So it's a 4 turn that goes down to a 3 turn, and then this decreases it again down to a 2 turn. So basically, she'll be able to AE every other turn once she's max stacked. So like she was already like kind of okay. This might make her a good enough bruiser that people will give her a try again. So this, I think, I hope people give her another try. All right, Dragon Fire. If the enemy's attack bar is half or less than your attack bar, your attack will always land as a crit hit. So basically, this is going to be your speed crit damage or attack crit damage attack Zyros. I think this is more for PvE or like arena than it is anything else. Okay, Sea Emperors. Increase damage by 15% if there are no harmful effects to transfer. So isn't this is just a buff to Manananan, right? Pretty much. Okay, Wind Baek. Inflicts the additional damage that's 5%, now 7% of your max HP. I mean, that's a 40% damage increase. I know, like, it's like, oh, it went 5 to 7, but that's 40% more damage on this passive. Yeah, like, that's a big buff. Imagine, okay, if this is true damage, imagine you can build a 40,000 HP Wind Baek. It was doing before 2,000 damage, now it's doing 2,800 damage. I believe per hit. So when he double hits, he now does 5,600 damage, true damage, I think. Yeah, like, this is in addition to whatever other damage he was doing. This is pretty significant, actually. So Wind Baek might be real meta now. Maybe. I don't know. Okay, I won't say real meta. What I'm saying is that this is a big damage increase. Is it a Obabo buff? Pretty much. They're like, uh-oh, it's a Nyx unit? It's not really. So the problem with running Nyx, so it could be a Nyx unit, but the problem with playing Nyx, well, maybe not after this buff, but the problem with playing Nyx is always that if you try to go too hard into playing around the fact that Nyx increases debuff durations and all this other stuff, you end up being countered by stuff that you no longer are able to counter. Like, you always have to hedge your bets with playing a Nyx comp, because otherwise they just pick Juno, they pick Veramos, they pick Tetra, and then you just sit there being like, oops, I don't. Wind Hacker, backup code, damage increased by 10%, now 20% for every harmful effect granted on the target. I believe that's the, yeah, so that's the passive. So it just increases his damage by 20%. And so he has the good S2, but now he does, so 20% extra damage. So honestly, he might be like a cleave unit at that amount of multiplier. He already can put on like 4 debuffs or 3 debuffs or something. And then he also has that passive, he has a built-in defense also. So it's not bad. I think this could be cool. Again, this is just, we made the damage bigger, but is it enough to make him good? We'll see. Druid Wind. It's been a while since he came into the game, or not came into the game, but like since anyone even drafted him in the game. Druid's secret plan was already 9 turns. So now it's 7 turns. Okay, I was getting things mixed up. Force of the Living is 7 turns. So now what used to happen is that whenever he died, he would decrease cooldown by 2 turns on Force of the Living. Now he decreases it if he's attacked by an enemy with lower defense. So now the provoke is going to be really good with Tyrannus. Where's nerf? Who did you want nerfed? So this could be kind of wild. A lot's going to depend on how well he lands the provoke, though, because why would you attack Tyrannus? The other thing, though, I guess, is that whenever it's just him left, if he's just super tanky, then you'll get to like res people over and over. This is kind of cool. People seem to think this is OP for the Druid, but I'm not sure. I really want to see how it actually plays out. Chimera Fire counterattacks the target with collapse with a 40 to 50% chance, so it basically increases his collapse chance. This is the sell more Recon statues, the 100% Recon statue sales tactic. All right, Joker Light Camouflage sells a bomb for 2 turns with a 25, goes from 25 to 35% chance. So it makes him slightly more consistent as a bomber. This is the passive bomb chance. This is actually kind of cool. I think for Nat 4 especially, this will be, maybe makes him a little bit easier to try to use. 35% chances still feels bad, but it'll be fun whenever you like high roll it, basically. Giant Warrior Dark increases damage of Atlas Stone by 50% when an ally or enemy dies up to 30%. So basically just makes him tank. You build him like, he was already built tanky. This is like a siege change, right? Fire Horus, after granting Oblivion, grants Seal. So now Fire Horus does Seal and Oblivion. Kind of cool. My basement's actually full of Recon statues. Asura Wind Dark attacks all enemies 2 to 4 times, now it's 2 to 3 times. So they nerfed him? Oh, no, it's... What does this mean? It reduces additional damage, but why? Oh, wait, damage per hit remains unchanged, so they nerfed it. Was this like a siege unit? Asura Wind, it was attack bar by 10%, now 20%. Okay, cool. Wind Dark, Blade Dance of Night. So this is the skill 2 pushback, right? So now it's just a 50% instead of 40%. Cool, this is another special league change. Barbaric King, Wrathful Attack. This is the S2, right? Now, if you're berserked, it's now ATB control. Is Aegir back? Oh, whoops. I gotta scroll down. Whoops, sorry. So this is, while under berserk state, additionally increases the enemy's attack bar by 50%, which means his S2, which is the thing that puts on the branding, is also ATB control. And then the light one too. The light one actually also is kind of nuts, right? Overall thoughts. This is a S+ patch because they buffed Nyx. If you take the Nyx line out, it's a B+ patch. There's a few things in here that I'll go over the high points in my opinion. Okay, big stuff in this patch. Gojo buff, where he's now an ATB pushback. Sick. Like actually disgustingly good. Gojo is already a well-statted unit, and the fact that he's now a robo, insane. Fire Dark Gojo buff and whatever. Fire Megumi, A++, awesome buff. Like Fire Megumi, gonna be sick now. 28% speed lead with the fact that he's now a 100% strip, 100% stun, and becomes an ATB reducer later on. A++, and he's a bruiser turn cycling ATB unit. Okay, that's Fire Megumi, disgusting good now. Yeah, especially considering it's SWC, insane. Other big ones. Potentially Fire Geralt. Depending on how this works. If this reduces by 4 turns, if he stuns everybody, this is going to be nuts too. Okay, it could be insane. I need to see how that one plays out. Apparently, Light Ciri is a really good buff. Okay, we'll see. Light Yennefer could be okay. I really want to see how that plays out. She's mostly like now an anti-Gianna kind of. Okay, Fairy King Dark Nyx, insanely good buff. Like, we'll see how this actually ends up playing out, but this is kind of wild. Like, for instance, there's a world where you can only get 10% ATB one time whenever it triggers discernment. There's another world where you get 10% ATB for every discernment. So he can be anywhere from, that's an okay buff, to, it's insane. All based on how this actually works. We don't know yet. Wind Mage, I think this has a potential to make her busted. Obviously you have to put the work in, but it will make people take another look at her for bruiser fights, in my opinion. Wind Baek, straight Obabo buff. Congratulations, Obabo. Wind Hacker could actually be good for kind of a cleave team. I'm gonna be testing that one out. Druid Beast Form, I don't have any way of understanding whether this is good or not because it's not a unit I've ever used, and the bruiser mentality does not fit me. Some people have said this Druid buff is big. I'm going to assume that they're right and that this is a big buff. Other changes that are big, that's pretty much it. Those are the big ones.